TV. It is straight up 9 o'clock. Time for At the Movies with Gideon. Gideon, good morning.
Morning, Bridget. How are you?
Doing good. Great to have you here. And you have a special guest with you.
Yes, I have my sister Rebecca with us.
Oh.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi.
Good to have you in. So what are you going to be talking about this morning, Gideon?
The new How to Train Your Dragons remake.
Okay.
Based off of the, I don't remember what year the first one, 2010
Mm-hmm.
How to Train Your Dragon movie. The trilogy and the spin-offs are movies that we both grew up with, along with our other sister, Esty. And so this remake meant a lot to us because we want to make sure they did it right and just kind of see how it performed.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what did you think about it?
Out of principle, out of someone who just doesn't like all the remakes and all the stuff they've been doing, out of principle, I don't think it should exist. But it is a very great movie. It's very wholesome, just fun for the whole family. It's one of those kind of traditional kids movies, but it's not just for kids because like adults will appreciate it too because the emotional payoff in every scene is just great. It's the same writer and director as the 2010 one. William Davies and DuVois. So you still have that soul to it. And that's one thing a lot of remakes now get deducted points from is because they don't have the same soul as the original, but this definitely has the same soul.
All right, Rebecca, what did you think of it?
I definitely agree. It shouldn't exist on principle, but it definitely does capture the heart and the spirit of the original very well. And even the CG is really not bad. Yes. I actually very much appreciated the design of the dragons and even some of the liberties in those designs that they kind of took, especially with the terrible terrors, because in the original, they're sort of just like puppy dog type dragons. But in this one, they're more like chameleon-like. And so there's a lot of creative liberties in the visual department that I really appreciated. Some of the writing things, it is the same writer-director, so the story beats are largely the same, but some of the character motivations are a little bit different, so though I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure if I agree, especially with some of the changes made to Astrid's character, but I would be curious to see your thoughts on that.
There were a few scenes and kind of lines that were cut out that are kind of iconic when it comes to just the character of Hiccup, which is the main character who trains the first dragon. And so there's a bit of criticism with that because, like we were talking earlier about, there's one line where he initially expresses that like, oh, dragons aren't all bad, and that line isn't in the remake, and along with a few other things that kind of pay off in the end. But one reason I brought Rebecca in is because she's or she has to come in, is because she's a instrumental music major at Lee University, and so she has a bigger tie to the music and scores. That's something she wants to do as a career when she gets out of college, and so let her talk about kind of this score and her thoughts on that.
Okay, so I'm going to nerd out a little bit because this really is my forte. I've been super passionate about movie scores starting from many years ago, even back in middle school. And so naturally, How to Train Your Dragon was a big influence in that.
Created by John Powell.
Yes, created by John Powell, and he also did the remake score. And so a lot of the themes are the same, but what I'm mostly interested is actually the instrumentation. So there's two scenes specifically that I want to talk about. And really the point I want to make in all of this, in case I lose track for anyone, is in many, many cases, when it comes to a movie score, less is more. And so there are moments for Test Drive. That's one of the most iconic scenes. There are moments for the big orchestra, for big instrumentation, big sounds, but it's knowing when to actually take away the orchestra and really allow unique textures and especially soloists to shine that really does make all the difference. So there's two scenes that I want to talk about. And I wouldn't even say either score did it necessarily better or worse, because both of these scenes actually, I would say one of them, the original does better, and the other, the remake, does better. So both of them have their strengths. So the first thing that I want to talk about is an early scene in the movie when Hiccup is looking for the dragon Toothless in the woods. So in the original, that whole scene starts out very almost curious, and the instrumentation is very limited. There's a clarinet solo that I completely forgot about. I'm a clarinetist, and so I'm naturally biased towards that. But it's a very it's not an intense scene at all. It's very again, curious, kind of tentative. It's like, okay, we'll see where this is going. And then as the scene grows in intensity, as he finds the dragon, then you add the violins and the brass, and it rises in intensity with that. And then in the big moment of that scene, when Toothless, again, the dragon, pins Hiccup to the ground and you think he might kill him, there's another really iconic moment where we have this solo violin, and it's playing the main theme, and then the scene kind of ends with that. And so that moment, again, really highlights the power of the soloist. But in the original, or in the remake, that soloist is really covered up by the brass, and it really just loses a lot of that intensity. And then the second scene I want to talk about that I think really exemplifies this, like, less is more thing, is actually near the end, and this might be spoilers-ish, maybe.
A character.
Yeah. A character is presumed to be dead, we'll say that. And the original, the score is sort of, I almost want to say generic kind of mourning. You know, you have your string, your choir. But then in the remake, again, there's a very dissonant chord from the string, so it's like very, any word I can say is another music theory term, but it feels uncomfortable, it feels unsafe, and then you get a wonderful woodwind trio that has just such a unique texture that, again, it adds to that uncertain feeling, but it's also very lamentful, very mournful. And so really both of those, again, the point I want to make with those is there are some moments where you need the full orchestra, and that's a big payoff moment, especially for a moment like Test Drive or the other big climactic scenes, but knowing when to take away the orchestra, when to focus on the soloist, or especially the woodwinds, because they offer such unique textures that you can really take advantage of that. And that's, it shows the strength of a composer and a score when they can do that.
Yeah. It really comes down to the advantages of a remake, of being able to improve on stuff you already was good, because they already had a good script, they already had a good score, and just improving on those, upon those, and seeing what they can do or make them different. And so overall, it's a great movie, and just like as Rebecca talked about, it's just has a strong emotional connection, at least to kind of to the recent generation. And so, oh yeah.
All right, that's At the Movies with Gideon and Rebecca Radcliffe, brother and sister. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, it is 9:08. Keep it here, Mix 1041 WCLE.